Oh. All right, we only got a couple people in here, but if you guys can, I had to take the art cam off, and whoever said last week to wrap it in aluminum foil, I think it might have worked. We've been having a lot better luck tonight with the arc shot. So I'm going to run a couple beads, and if you guys could comment and tell me if I'm high or low, that would really help, because it's kind of hard to look over at the screen and see where the camera is on the shot. So I'm going to run a couple beads, see if we can get this thing to keep working. I've been welding for about an hour now, and it hasn't kicked off one time. So let's see if this actually works. Derek Mountain, what's up, buddy? Like I said, whoever suggested wrapping aluminum foil around the camera to help it kind of shield it from some of the high frequency, it might have actually worked. So I'm a smidge high. All right, I'm trying to line up. Oh no, I'm losing foil. Let's try this again then. So I'll make a couple runs. Torch is bottom of screen. All right. Let's see how that went. Any better? There we go. Hey, it's working. So I don't remember. I'd have to go back through and look at the live stream and see who suggested to wrap this thing in aluminum foil, but by God, it's actually working. So that's a building that's a building block. We'll see if we can keep that up. I'll run a couple more beads on this fillet weld, and then maybe we'll move to like an edge weld. I had a bunch of mobile jobs this week, so I didn't have too much in the shop. But if you guys want to see me suffer a little bit, I've got my stick lead. I've got some aluminum stick rod. We can maybe mess around with that a little bit. Yeah, the tinfoil hat for the win. I was actually laughing to myself about that earlier, that I had to put a tinfoil hat on my camera. So I'll run a couple more on here, see if we can get this camera dialed in a little bit. If you guys don't know, I'm actually looking at a dot. I've got a little Sharpie dot right here on my outside cover lens, and I'm trying to figure out where to line that up with my torch and stay a certain distance away. So as I'm welding, I'm trying to keep that dot right on that spot. Let's see. I don't stunt. It doesn't really stick. I'm running 55, 54 tonight per usual. It's a little stickier than 40, 43. Let me go back to the arc shot. I might have been just running it kind of weird to try to get a decent shot. So let's try this again. So it doesn't really stick. You can see it. I'm hoping you guys can see it flow in if I move around a little bit. You see how this rod flows in. So, man, I'm really pumped that that's starting to actually have some decent results. I was getting pretty bummed out, not going to lie. So I'll grab another rod. Let's run a couple more beads, see if we can get another decent shot. I'm just so stoked this thing's working. I'm like a kid at Christmas. Dustin Apple, hello, sir. I'm going to go to, I think we're running like 131 hertz there. I'm actually going to switch over, run a little bit lower frequency. I had a request through Facebook Messenger to try running a lower frequency and just kind of show what it does. So we're going to go from 131 hertz down to 60 hertz. Let's go back to the arc shot. See if I can get you guys a decent shot of 60 hertz. I'm hoping you guys can hear the sound difference. And what a lower frequency will do for you, it'll actually keep the puddle liquid longer. You're getting a higher heat input than you would at like what I was just running at 130. And your puddle won't freeze as fast. So kind of the lingo we use is it's a more buttery feel. It's a little softer. So let me switch over to the small camera. Switch over to the up close cam. So you can kind of see that was our first run at like 130 hertz. Whoop. There's our run at 60. So not much difference. It's a little bit, it does feel a little bit softer. I'll tend to run like a lower frequency if I'm getting on some thick material just because of the higher heat input. That's one way you can kind of cheat your machine. Like if you're maxed out, and let's say you're normally running 120, 130, 150 hertz, if you actually go down in your frequency, like 60 hertz, or even I've ran as low as 50, it'll actually give you a little bit more heat input than at a higher frequency. So sometimes if you're maxed out and you're not quite there, and you maybe need what would feel like 10, 15 more amps, going way down in frequency can actually help out a little bit with your heat input. So just as a reference, let's go ahead, and I'm on my MTS 225 again. Let's go from 60 hertz. Let's crank this thing all the way up to 200. So we'll make another quick run at 200 hertz. Derek, frequency does not necessarily affect your cleaning. It can, so when you're at a higher frequency, let's just start there. At a higher frequency, it'll narrow your arc cone, and so you'll get a tighter bead. And at a lower frequency, obviously your arc cone gets a lot wider. So actually, let's go ahead. That's a good question, Derek. Let's go ahead and we'll run this pass at 200 hertz, and then I'll run an inch or two, and I'll go back down to 60, and then I'll get you guys on the close-up cam, and I don't really think you'll be able to see much of a difference. It'll run a lot, it'll run a little bit different, but I don't think visually you guys will see a lot of difference. So let me switch over to arc cam. We're at 200 hertz on the MTS 225, running a 1/8 inch, or this is 090 fillet. This thing is screaming. All right, so there's our run at 200 hertz. Excuse me. Let's drop back down to hell. Let's just take this thing all the way to the bottom. We'll go down to 20 hertz. We'll go all the way from 200 down to 20. So we'll pick up right where we left off. And you want to talk about a buttery puddle. It's so crazy actually being able to see the polarity switch. It's actually kind of fun to run. So bear with me. All right, so we just made 2 runs, one at 200 hertz and one at 20 hertz. So let's grab this up close cam. See if I can get you guys in frame. There we go. So there we go. So this was our run at 200 hertz. This is our run at 20 hertz. So you can see the etching was maybe a little bit bigger, but that's going to come with a wider bead. You can also tell the bead on this 20 hertz run is a little bit wider than this 200 hertz. But I think if you actually measured the width of the actual cleaning action of the etching zone, we'd be pretty equal between these two. Just we're getting a lot wider bead with that 20 hertz. But yeah, on a fillet weld, Derek, I typically, if I'm running a fillet, I will run a higher frequency just because with that narrowed arc cone, the arc won't tend to try to jump between the plates. It'll tends to drive it into the center of the joint. I generally won't run 200 hertz. About the highest I'll go is 150. Sometimes I'll go up to 180, but that's usually on really, really thin stuff. Speaking of thin, we could even try, just while we got it set up, let me swap out to a sharper tungsten, and we will try running like an edge weld on this 090 and see if we can get a decent shot of that. Let me swap this tungsten out real quick. And again, guys, I don't really have a whole lot tonight. I've been doing a bunch of mobile work this last week, so I haven't had too much stuff for in the shop. So tonight is a perfect time. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask, and I'll see if we can work on it. Like I said, I did. If you guys are just joining us, I actually grabbed some aluminum stick rod, and I got my my stinger out. We might run some aluminum stick here in a little bit just to torture myself. So here, let's try running this 090 edge weld. We're going to go ahead and go up to 150 hertz. I'm going to kick my amperage down. We'll go 101 amps. Going ham, hello from Kansas City, Missouri. So let's go ahead and run this little edge weld, see if we can get a decent shot of that on the arc cam. Welds like this are really fun practice. Boom. Hey, Derek, actually, if you send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, I will send you to the link to the CK adapters that you need. Or if you want to, if you want to try Googling it, if you just Google CK Quick Connect Air or Gas and CK Quick Connect adapter for the water side, you'll actually need 3 adapters. You'll need Well, if you're running a water cooler, you'll need 2 for your water side. You'll need 1 of your gas adapters. But if you Google it, don't have any luck, send me a message. And as soon as I'm done here, I'll shoot you over the links, either on CK's side or like on Baker's or something like that, just so you can see what they look like. But the CK Quick Connect is what you need. So let's go ahead and run another edge weld real quick, and then I'll scroll through the comments and see if you guys have any questions, anything you want to see me try running. So there we go, a little demo just on how stable the arc is on this 225. A lot of people I'll see on the forum, someone's asking about a multi-process, and they're, oh, get a separate machine. You know, you always give up something if you're using multi-process, you know, a TIG stick MIG machine. But really, like this MTS, like you said, I just did an edge weld on 090, super stable. You're really not giving anything up using a multi-process when you're using like the MTS Lightning 225 or 275. Super stable arc. I mean, it's as stable as my my 325 EXT. I actually really enjoy running that thing on aluminum. I tried your suggestion on pulse. Yeah, Richard, the excuse me, guys. The advanced AC pulse can take a little bit of getting used to. It might help you if you actually turn down your pulses per second, your frequency of your pulse, to give you a little bit more time to dip the filler rod in. Because you really, like I said, you really want to try to dip it on the AC side of that pulse. So turning down your pulse frequency might actually help you out a little bit on that. Dustin, can you talk about how AC balance affects tungsten heat and tungsten life? I wouldn't necessarily say laser is the go-to choice. Personally, I use 2% lanthanated for both AC and DC. But while we got this here, let's go ahead. We can make another couple runs and change our balance around. So let me jump over here. We're going to go. So on the MTS 225, the lowest balance setting you can go to is 30%, which is pretty. I don't usually go below 35. But let's make a run at, I'm going to turn my amperage back up. Let's make a run at 30% balance, and then we'll make a run, let's say like 70% balance. And you're going to notice a pretty, especially now that the arc cam's actually working, you'll notice a pretty significant difference. So here we go. We're going to run, let me grab another piece of filler rod. Sorry. So here we go, 30% balance. Hope I got you guys in frame. So there we go, run at 30% balance. Now let's go. Oh, let me go back. Let's go up to 65% balance. So run a little over double the balance. Let's go back to the arc shot. Aluminum MIG. Stuart Jones, I actually got my, I've got my 253 DPI set up. I would just have to plug it in and turn it on real quick. So we could run some MIG aluminum real quick. Like I said, I do have some aluminum stick just to more for you guys to laugh at. So here we go. We're going to run 65% balance on this fillet weld. We're going to run right next to our 30% run. So you can already see the, whoop, and that's why. So you can see that 60% already melted the tungsten. So let me see, that arc got a little stable as that ball was wiggling around. So let's move down a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see on the camera, but the ball on the tungsten is super unstable. I'm running a little bit too high of amperage for that. So let's get on the get you guys on the up close camera. Did it shut off? All right. Give me a second for this other camera to load. Okay, so here was our run at 30% balance. This start is where we switched over to 65%. And it got real erratic because the ball was all fluttering around. And same here, this is our run at 65% balance. I would never run 65% just because it's going to melt your tungsten. So I was at 150 amps and it just disintegrated the tungsten. I've got a huge ball on there now. And the whole time it was fluttering around. We could probably cure that a little bit by going down in frequency. But generally for me, I found that anything really above 40, 45% really doesn't have any benefits to it. Unless you're running on some super dirty stuff. But even then, I'll use, if I go any higher than 40% balance or 45% balance, it's usually just to do like a quick overrun pass just to kind of burn some of the shit off the top of the metal. So let me go back down to what I normally run, which is 35% balance. That just seems to be a pretty good do-all for me. Richard, let me show you why going to aluminum stick would not be a good option for you. If you guys will give me just a second, let me switch some leads around real quick, and then I'll grab some fresh material. Well, I'll grab some thicker material just because I've got 1/8 inch. I've only got 1/8 inch aluminum stick rod, so I need some thicker material. But give me like 30 seconds, guys, and I'll get everything swapped around real quick, and we'll run some aluminum stick just for shits and giggles. All right. Oh, 1 second. Switching machine. I'm going to switch machines. Grab some thicker material. So I'm going to switch over to my 325 EXT just because I won't have to move as much stuff around. I'm going to turn this thing up to 130 amps. All right, we're on stick. All right. Oh, I need to grab my clamp real quick, guys. Give me 1 more second. All right, here we go. All right. So there, who asked this question? Richard. So Richard asked about, I had mentioned doing some aluminum stick more as a joke, because it's pretty rough. If you guys haven't ran aluminum stick, it is rough. And I am not going to pretend like I know what I'm doing with this stuff. I've used it a couple times in a dire emergency. I would not recommend it unless you just absolutely, unless it's the only thing you got, I wouldn't recommend it. So it's going to make a mess of my table. But maybe we can get a halfway decent arc shot out of it. Let me get my cable out of the way. Move all my good measuring stuff and blocks out of the way. All my flammables. All right, so aluminum stick. I've got the machine set at 140 amps. This is 1/8-inch rod, 1/4-inch material. So hopefully I don't get everything over here on my my screen. So let's go ahead and we'll switch to the arc shot cam. I'm probably not going to be able to get close enough to this to get a real good arc shot, but let's give it a shot anyway. Whoa. So it's got to move hot and fast. So I don't know how much of you guys caught that. Let's we'll switch over to the small cam real quick. Let you guys take a look at that short little bead. Give me just a second. This camera wants to kick off if I don't have it. If I don't touch it for more than like 2 minutes. All right. Give me 1 second. I'll show you guys what this looks like. So yeah, there's your aluminum stick. Like I said, it runs super hot, super fast. So I'm only at 140 amps on 1/4-inch material, and man, you got to run with it. But I mean, if you absolutely had to fix something, out in the field, and you couldn't get a TIG machine in a bottle out there, and it was aluminum, then you do have an option. I wouldn't call it your best option, but it will get the job done. It just might not be the prettiest thing that ever happened. But if you had to use it in an emergency, it is there. All right. Now that my table is a total disaster. So that stuff is messy. I could, I'll run one more bead with the camera, with the wide shot cam, just so you guys can see how much of a mess this stuff makes. Because it is something to think about if you're going to use it. That, I mean, it goes all over the place. So let's make another run real quick. I mean, you got to jam this rod down in there because you're moving so fast. So let's, I said, you can see it already made a huge mess of everything. Fortunately, just because it's aluminum, it doesn't stick to my table very well. You can tell how often I stick weld because I don't even have a chipping hammer on my table. So we'll switch you back over. So this was at that last run right there. So I mean, like literally 8 inches of rod will get you about an inch and a half. But like I said, it's it's an I would call it an emergency fix. If you had to run that, you would be up shit creek without a paddle before I decided to use aluminum stick on something. But you never know. So it is there. It is kind of fun to play with, just in case you ever did have to use it. But definitely not my my second or third option if I could avoid it. Let me reset everything again real quick. I'm going to spend about an hour grinding this table down after we get off of here. All right. I don't even know how to say your name. Is that Nebia 1521? With aluminum stick, I don't think you need to preheat anything. That stuff runs so damn hot. So I was only at 140 amps, and you can barely keep up with 1/8 inch rod. So unless you were trying to weld some 6-inch thick aluminum, I don't think you need any preheat for aluminum stick. Let's see. But yeah, Richard, I've had that sitting around. We kind of wanted to do a video on aluminum stick just for the YouTube channel, just to show you guys that, if you really had to, it's out there. It's not something that's going to look pretty. I mean, I'm not going to post a picture of that on Instagram. That's for damn sure. Oh, but yeah, it does suck. Is that soldador? Hey, buddy, my Spanish is terrible, so I don't know how to pronounce Spanish names, but I appreciate you guys joining. So yeah, let me know what else you guys want to see. We can bust out the 253 DPI real quick and run a couple passes if you guys want to see that. That would only take me another minute maybe to set up, so we can try that. Let me wipe this table down a little bit. I guess in the meantime, maybe I could give you guys a little tour of my table, how I keep things set up. I do get quite a few questions about that, so let me get on the small camera. Grab it. I'll switch you guys over. Let me go. So looking out, here's my shop. But now to my right, I keep like a little tub of like acetone to soak bungs in when I'm doing builds, like intercoolers and stuff like that. I also keep carbon choke cleaner on hand. My machines are off to my right. So I've got my 325 EXT, 2 water coolers. And then I've got my MTS 225. I use a CK Turbo Sharp tungsten sharpener. If you guys are working in a shop, you have got to get one of these. It is the most badass tungsten sharpener that you can buy. And it's $700, $750. These things are absolutely incredible. One of the main things for TIG welding is consistent setup needs consistent results. So the more consistent you can get your tungsten grind, the more consistent your welds are going to be. So here's my little stubby holder. I've got it separated out where, since I do a lot of aluminum, I'll do 40-43 on this side and 55-54 on this side. Hammer collection, my pins, filler rods all over here. See the bright studio lights. And then I always keep 2 slide squares on my table, just for if I'm doing like different layouts, I can I can keep them at 2 different measurements so I can go through things a lot faster. So yeah, hammers. Keep a ton of pins on me. All my extra tungsten is over here. So I keep quite a few pre-sharpened tungstens. And then these are my tools for the CK Turbo Sharp. I've also got more tungsten there, should I need it. And then I've got my my Edge welding cups case. Let's bust it out real quick. I always get a lot of questions about this guy. And this was actually a Christmas present from Edge. It's one of the coolest things I've ever gotten. So I've got this thing separated out too, where I've got my steel cups over on this side, you know, my bigger stuff, some of the weird stuff. I've got 2 3/32 gas lenses, 2 1/8" gas lenses, and then assortment. These are all quartz cups for aluminum. So even these are quartz. So basically everything from here over I use for aluminum, and everything here over I use for steels and stainless. So just a little tour of my work area. And I built this table. This is a 5 by 10 table, or I'm sorry, 4 by 8 table. This was kind of my dream table I built a couple years ago. Have enough room to have everything spread out and out of the way. Still have plenty of room to work. Let me get back to the comments. I saw a couple questions come up. How many different sizes and mix of filler rods do you keep? So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 11 different filler rod tubes, and I use the rod guards for all my stuff. Just keeps the moisture out, keeps the humidity out, especially for aluminum rods. They don't oxidize inside these. It's important for your mild steel rods too, but I've got 1/16, 53/56, 3/32, 53/56, 1/8" in the same. I've got 1/16, 40/43, 1/8 or 3/32, 40/43, 1/8" 40/43, and then I've got 1/16, 55/54, 3/32, 55/54, and I keep 1/16, 308 and 309 and 316 on hand. I keep a tube of silicon bronze on hand. And then what else do I have? I've got some TIG Tech 224. It's like a cast iron filler rod. So I do a lot of cast iron stuff, which hopefully I get something in here pretty soon. We can do some cast iron. You always get a lot of questions about cast iron. Let's see. And then I've got a tube of 1/16 ER80, which is what I use for chromoly. And then I've got a tube of 3/32 and 1/16 ER70. So mild steel and chromoly as well. Silicon bronze. I don't really have any steel stuff, but Derek, let me look around. I'll put a feeler out and see if maybe we can get some cast iron, or maybe even just do. I'll try to find some steel, some thicker steel maybe we can run some silicon bronze on, because it is kind of fun. Have you welded on Ford's aluminum body vehicles? Yes, actually. There's a little local body shop just up the road from me, this is something too, if you guys are pretty good at welding, TIG welding aluminum. I just ran up there and gave them my card and told them, you know, hey, if you guys have anything aluminum or steel you need welded up, need some help, give me a call. I'm just down the street. And it wasn't a week later, they had a Ford F-150 that came in. The side of the bed got ripped, and it ripped some mounting holes or mounting tabs on the bed. And they couldn't get that particular part from Ford at the time. So they wanted me to basically weld them up. And yeah, the Ford aluminum on those bodies welds up great. I just buffed it down with a little Scotch-Brite pad on a roll lock. And yeah, those aluminum bodies weld up really well. I mean, they're a little thin. I think they're probably in the 25 thousandths range, maybe 20 thou. So they're a little thin, but yeah, they weld up great. All right, Stacy Corey, what is the max material thickness you can weld with the torch that comes with the 255 EXT? I cannot remember what they come with. You'll have to give me a hint at what they come with. I know they come with two torches. I think it comes with like an 18 and a 9 maybe. An 18 water cooled and then a 9 air cooled. With a 9 air cooled, I wouldn't go much over 120 amps. I think they're rated for 150 DC, which is be about 100 amps AC. But I really wouldn't use a 9 on AC because you'll burn it up pretty quick. With a 17, man, I've welded on my 185 DV. It came with a 17, and I've welded 3/16 thick material. You just got to watch how hot the torch gets. You don't want to push it too hard. Yeah, Paul, you might be right. But if you have 17, I can't remember the exact amperage rating on those. But a 17, like I said, came on my 185, and I welded 3/16 with it. You just have to take a break because you'll feel the torch start to get hot. Derek, I have not used aluminum bronze filler. I might try to get some from my supplier this week. And just maybe we could do a difference between aluminum bronze and silicon bronze. So kind of show the difference. I haven't ran any aluminum bronze in a long time. Oh, let me skim back through here, guys. You loaded me up with a bunch of questions. Let me see. How hard is it to weld chromoly? I actually really like chromoly. I think chromoly's super easy. I mean, it's like a high grade steel, basically. I think it welds a lot like stainless to me. I do like running the ER80 on it just because it has more silica content. So I think you get a little bit cleaner weld. It's also a little bit stronger than ER70, which is what a lot of guys use. So I tend to run chromoly with ER80. But we could get some chromoly in. Yeah, Paul, that's a good, 150 amps for a 17. So what's a 9, like 120 amps? I can't remember now. I don't use air-cooled torches very often. I usually just run my Nova 20 on a water cooler. But yeah, with the 17, I mean, you can weld 200 amps with it. You don't want to weld for very long with it. You'll feel it start to get real hot in your hand. Advanced AC waveform and their benefits. So Derek, do you mean all the waveforms or just particularly the advanced AC pulse? Because advanced AC pulse is a fun little process to run. Where can I buy Everlast in Mexico? Maria Morales, if you're on Facebook, send me a message on Facebook and I'll hook you up with the sales team. I know I've personally sold a couple machines to people in Mexico and Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. So I know we ship down there. As far as the exact process, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure they just ordered them from Everlast USA. As far as being in a store, I don't think we don't have any stores down in Mexico that are stocking Everlast machines currently. Soft, triangle, and square. Oh, so you want to go through all the waveforms? Yeah. We got about another 10 minutes left, so we're probably a little short on time to run through those. But Derek, I do actually have a video on the Everlast channel. If you just go to the channel page and go to the videos, and if you scroll down, you'll see a header that's, Jesse McCollum. If you scroll through there, we actually do all the waveforms. There's a really long video on there that I go through what they look like, what they do, why we use them, their benefits, kind of the pros and cons of each. And that's, I think that was like a 20-minute video. So for doing it on the live stream, it'd be about half an episode. But yeah, next time we run, I can maybe switch over and do like a soft wave and a triangle wave while we're making a run. Paul, I haven't tried that. That's a good, I never really thought about that, honestly, about doing like a variable frequency and doing a stick pulse. I might have to try that. As soon as we get off of here, I'm actually going to go try to find your video on that because that sounds rather intriguing. That might help out quite a bit. But Maria, yeah, send me a message on Facebook. If you get on the Everlast Facebook page, I'm one of the admins on there. You probably find me on most of the posts. Just look for Jesse McCollum. Send me a message, and I'll get you hooked up to the right people. Or send the Everlast Facebook page a message, and then I can get you in touch with the right person there too. So either way, whatever is easiest for you. 150 years for 17. Let me scroll back through some of the questions, guys. No, Paul, I just saw your comment about my organized work area. Man, I'm super anal about how I have stuff laid out. I like everything to be out of the way, but within reach. I like to know where everything is. It just, when you're doing, I come from a pretty heavy production TIG AC background. So having stuff laid out correctly and where it makes sense, it'll drop literally hours off a work order. So I've had it drilled into me to be very organized in my work area, which my wife would disagree with how our bedroom looks on my side. I've got clothes everywhere. So Paul, so the aluminum stick kind of follows the same TIG principles then, it sounds like. That'll be fun to play with. I'll probably end up playing with that this week because that has me pretty intrigued. Soldador, I'm going to have, my wife is actually fluent in Spanish. I'm going to have her translate your question and get back to you. Because unfortunately, I'm dumb and I don't know any Spanish whatsoever, besides cuss words. So yeah, is there anything else? Man, it would be hard to run. It'd be kind of hard to run the waveforms real quick. Thanks, Dustin. I appreciate it. Well, and Salador too. I guess I'm not for sure what you said, but if it's a compliment, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, if that's it. So help me. Is it possible for a 17-year-old in a trade school for welding to get an all right paying TIG welding job? Yes. When I was 18 coming out of high school, there was a little company here called Heatron, and they did a lot of stainless TIG on kidney dialysis heating elements. And that was the first job I applied for as a welder, and took the weld test, took a little aptitude test, and that job started out at $18.25 an hour back in 2005. So, God, 17 years ago. That's crazy. But yeah, so like your production MIG jobs are probably going to be in the $14, $15 an hour range. I've seen some as low as 12. So you really, if he's, depends on where you live, because like $20 an hour around Kansas City, not too bad. You start getting up into like the mid 30s, and that's a pretty good paying job in Kansas City. That's probably topped out for welders. In California, though, $30 an hour, and you're living in a cardboard hut, 5 hours from the city. So send me a message, and we can I can kind of help guide you through some of the better paying areas. It kind of depends on what he wants to do. If he wants to go in like pipeline work, then yeah, there's a lot of great jobs all over the country, but he is going to have to travel if you want to do, like pipe fitters or, boiler makers are a really good union that pays really well, but you have to travel a lot. So finding a job where, especially right off the start, where you can stay home, you can be home every night and not work, 7/12s, then it can be a little difficult unless he's like really good at TIG or something like that. But a good paying TIG job is pretty easy to find in most cities. Justin Voss, thank you, sir. You're like one of the kings of YouTube. So appreciate you jumping in, man. Let me see. Normal for tungsten to get black soot when welding AC. Proper gas coverage is there. So Gubert, dude, was that Dewberry? So Gubert, you might check your post flow. So a lot of people, it's a misconception that post flow isn't that important on aluminum because the base material is not reactive, but your post flow is actually just as important, but for a different reason. You actually want to protect the tungsten, and that's why you have post flow on aluminum, is just protect the tungsten. And so if you're getting actually I've got a little piece here. Well, my camera shut off, but I've got a piece that I pulled out real fast. And so if you're running a bead and then you let off the pedal and you jerk the torch away, what's happening is you're going to have the raw atmosphere hit your tungsten while it's still hot, and it'll actually oxidize. And that could cause either like a bluing, like a really dark grayish. If it's really bad, it'll almost turn it black. And so when you go to light up again, you're going to have all that oxidization flow into your puddle. It'll blow off the tungsten, go into your weld puddle, and you'll drag it along. So you might check your post flow and how fast you're pulling off after you're done welding. Typically, a good rule of thumb is 1 second per 10 amps. So if you're running 100 amps, 1 second per 10 amps. That's right. So I think that's a little high for 100 amps. I might run 7 or 8 seconds. You get up into like 200 amps, 250 amps. I would probably start running like 12 to 15 seconds of post flow. You just really want to make sure that your tungsten is completely cooled off before it hits the atmosphere. You'll get oxidation on it. Let me go back through. I got loaded up all of a sudden. Richard, I appreciate the compliment, man. It's a little stressful doing this. I'm not going to lie, because like tonight, I didn't have too much to really show you guys. I've been doing a bunch of mobile work outside of the shop, so I didn't have too much to do in the shop tonight. So it's a little stressful trying to come up with something to do. But now that I'm getting in the mix of it a little bit, like kind of messing around with that aluminum stick. Next week, we're definitely going to mess with the 253 DPI and show some pulse MIG aluminum. If you guys haven't seen it on the Everlast YouTube channel, just yesterday we posted my 4 tips to welding MIG aluminum, and that's without a push and pull gun, without a spool gun, just swapping out your liner and a couple little tricks to where you can run a regular MIG whip and run some aluminum MIG without having a real fancy setup. Oh, let me go through. Yeah, so Gubert, if you were running 110 amps at 1.5 seconds post flow, I would definitely go up. I'd go up, like I said, probably 7 or 8 seconds of post flow. And just for reference, on pre-flow on aluminum, I normally run like 0.5, 0.6 of a second for pre-flow, just to set that atmosphere before the arc lights up. So double check your pre-flow as well, because you can get if you're lighting up the tungsten and that it hasn't cleared all the atmosphere out and got, dispelled all the oxygen away from your tungsten, you'll get some sooting there as well. So that might be a problem as well. Okay, good. 0.5 pre. You should be good on your pre-flow. I said definitely bump that post flow up. And if you're still having the issue, again, send me a message and I can work through it with you. And that goes to everybody. If you guys are having a problem with something, I'm more than happy to sit down and listen to you, try to help you out. I'm on Facebook, obviously. I'm one of the admins on the Facebook group for Everlast. I'm on Instagram at mccollum.weldfab. And then I'm on TikTok too. I'm not on there very much anymore, but Facebook or Instagram, hit me up. Wow, Jay, 253 on some dice cubes. I'm not quite that good with it yet. Maybe give me a couple months. Not quite that good on it. Paul, again, thanks, man. That was a really fun one to shoot. A lot of people don't know that you can use a regular MIG whip to weld aluminum. So that was pretty fun. That's actually gotten a lot of really good response. So it's been a cool one. Soldador, thank you. That's a really high compliment because there's some absolutely incredible content creators on YouTube. So to have a compliment like that, that means a lot. So, well, guys, it's 9 o'clock here in Kansas City, or no, sorry, 8 o'clock. My computer still says East Coast time, but I'm gonna go ahead and jump off. Let's plan on next week. We'll bust out the 253 DPI. I'll get some thicker material set up, and we can kind of go through some settings on that. And again, I'm just running that with a regular, like standard MIG whip that comes with it. I just swapped out for a Teflon liner and an oversized contact tip, which those tips are on the Everlast YouTube channel now. So you can check that video out and then watch that video. And then next week we'll jump on the 253 DPI and we'll go live with it. And hopefully with the arc shot cam, we should be able to get some pretty good shots just because we're not using the high frequency. So again, everybody, man, this has been a good one. I was kind of surprised. I was kind of worried going into the night. I didn't have much for you guys, but I appreciate everybody showing up. Again, if this is your first time here, this is the Everlast Welders live stream show. Come and watch me work, mess around, try to show you guys some tips and tricks. But we're doing this every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. So I appreciate you guys coming. It means the world to me. We have so many people watching this, just me farting around in my garage. So everybody have a good week. I'll see you next Monday, and we'll run some Pulse aluminum MIG on the 253 DPI. Have a good one, everybody.